We see that you now accept that you are the creator of your own experience, and you're sensitive enough to know when you're not doing it, and that doesn't set very well with you. And so then you start being mean to yourself about it. I should be doing better is something that we're beginning to hear from a number of you. And so what we want to help you to understand is that the requests are going to keep coming, and the stakes are going to get higher and higher and higher. The more you know about alignment, the less you are able to tolerate not being in alignment. You said to the little kids, you're too sensitive. And if we were standing there with Esther's mouth so that we could speak about it, we would say to the little kid, you're not too sensitive. Your sensitivity is really good for you. But someone else says you're too sensitive because something's bothering you. But if you don't know it's bothering you, you can't do anything about it. And people are frustrated that you haven't done anything about it because you're displaying your sensitivity in unproductive ways. You got to start back over here, you see. We want you to have everything that you want, and we don't want to be a bubble burster, but we also think that it is important for you to know that the things that you really want right now are not going to please you for very long. But you don't know that if you still don't have them. You have to get them to understand that. So there's a whole body of people on the outside of what they want, looking at a lot of you who have what they want, and they think that if they just had what they want that you've got, that then they would be happy. But happiness isn't about the accumulation. It's not even about the moving through. People gather a bunch of possessions, and then they leave a bunch of possessions, and then they gather and leave and gather and leave. It isn't about any of that. It's about what you're doing with your vibration. It's about what life is causing you to ask for now. Haven't you noticed about yourself that you can be overwhelmed because you haven't tended to your energy? And that's all right. That's how you figure out that you want to tend to your energy, right? So you haven't tended to your energy, and so you're feeling overwhelmed, and then all you want is just some peace and quiet. You just want to get off by yourself or with someone that's sort of kind of like you, where you can just sort of chill out, and then it's not very long before you're bored. So you go from overwhelmment to boredom, overwhelmment to boredom, overwhelmment to boredom. And did you notice we didn't do the pendulum like this? Because overwhelmment and boredom is still not in vibrational alignment. Nowhere close to overwhelmment or boredom is satisfaction. It's just a different version of not letting it in. When you're overwhelmed, you're not letting it in. When you're bored, you're not letting it in. But when you say, oh, I'm overwhelmed, I need to do less, or oh, I'm bored, I need to do more, those are not the right answers. The right answers are, I need to get into vibrational touch with who I really am to find out what I really want. Do you know that there isn't one of you here, and you're brilliant and wonderful, but there's not one of you in this room. In fact, we rarely meet, we've never met one of you who could articulate with any precision at all what's really in their vortex, because you have put it there so incrementally that you can hardly identify it. But when you get back into alignment with who you are a vibrational match to it, and as it begins to reveal itself to you and you begin to realize it because of your alignment, then you say, I'm surprised and delighted. And sometimes you've wondered, when we've talked about how the universe will surprise and delight you, hey, wait a minute, if I'm a deliberate creator and I'm calling the shots on what I want, why would there ever be a surprise? Because you can't hold consciously in your mind all of the important facets of the things that you've been asking for. You just can't hold it all. Plus, it's been molding together, it's been gestating, it's been becoming more. Law of attraction is added to it. Your inner being's been tending it. Who you really are is such a magnificent state of being. It's not a state of possessing, it's not a state of doing or having, it's a state of being. And when you accomplish vibrational alignment with that state of being, then that being will morph into more being, more knowing, more understanding, even more asking, more awareness, more having, more doing, more playing, more action, more of all of that, if it comes from center. But if you're out there applying your action and your words to try to compensate, to try to fix things, then it just gets more and more and more and more and more convoluted. It's kind of like a bill in Congress. It's kind of like your tax codes. They keep trying to fix things. They keep trying to fix things by just piling something else on something that already isn't working, and then they wonder why it doesn't work. Yeah.
So are there deeper levels of alignment? Because from this conversation, I'm starting to sense that I think I'm pretty aligned, or I know what that feels
and
like.
it's counterintuitive, because it seems to you all like the more expanded and evolved you get, then the more active your brain would be and the more stuff you would know and that you could say. But the opposite is how you get there. It's by quieting the chatter and discovering alignment, and then from that alignment allowing new chatter, from that alignment adding new attraction, new friends, new relationships, new exposures to life.
Very last thing. Okay, going deeper, back to the basics, getting ready to be ready.
Going deeper, let's call it going simpler, going easier, going lighter, going easier, going simpler, going softer. What else would you call it? Easier, softer.
When I think about the work in general and everything you're sharing, it comes down, for me, it comes down to that deep knowing, and which I do have.
We like your words. And where is this deep knowing? In the vortex. Your inner being is the whole of who you are, who was who you were when you came into this body, and who's picked up all the good stuff ever since. And so the true deepest understanding of who you are is in that place that you want to bounce off from. This is a really good question. What do you think your deepest knowing is? We're just going to throw this out to you. These are some multiple choices, and you just say, what do you think the deeper knowing is? The deeper knowing. We're trying not to make it too easy for you, but we can't help it because it's so easy. Is the deeper knowing love or mathematical equations? What's the deepest knowing? What's the deepest knowing?
Love.
Really? Seems like the deepest knowing would require a lot of education and a lot of testing. Deepest knowing is love. What's the deepest knowing? Satisfaction or speaking 12 languages? Now, here's the thing. There can be satisfaction in speaking 12 languages. And there can be satisfaction in understanding those mathematical equations. And when you've been ready to be ready, you'll feel that satisfaction in that. But what we want you to understand is the classroom that matters most to you, you can get to today easily. And if you'll just go every now and again, you're going to find yourself happier in life. What matters more to you? What you accomplish and accumulate in relationship to what others are accomplishing and accumulating, and their awareness of how you stand in relationship to all of them, or being glad about something. We're just trying to help you to get your priorities a little straighter, because bless your pointed heads, you have been so comparative out here in the manifested world that you've kind of lost sight or lost feel for what really matters. And so when you leave this gathering today, and you will, some of the takeaway phrases that we think that would be helpful for you are getting ready to get ready to get ready to get ready, and just reminding yourself of that will take you back to all of the understanding that you had here. That's really an essential one. Another one is there's nothing serious going on here. That's really a good place to start. Enough?
One more thing, just off that. So with the
now you got to admit, she's been helpful to you.
That was my intention. So just really quick, so with the knowing part, you said like looking at what other people are doing. I feel like for me, it's knowing what's in my vortex, knowing that I can be doing, have whatever I want, knowing that that's why we're here.
Well, now wait a minute.
And not letting that all in.
But what about this? What if you are tuned in, tapped in, turned on, you're feeling really good, and you are observing others around you and finding positive aspects all over the place, and it's just life-giving to you. It's intoxicating to you to see the beautiful textures and lovely fabrics of the world and the people around you. Is milking that counterproductive, or is it productive because you were ready to be ready for it? So what we're getting at is you have to know whether you're doing this to fix something that's broken, which never works, or whether you're doing this because it's the natural sequential consequence of your alignment. And that's why why you can't know when you're looking at anyone else whether their action or their process is really productive for them, or whether their process that is productive for them would be productive for you, because it's not about what they're doing, it's the vibrational stance from which they're doing it. So the rule of thumb is, if you don't feel very good, don't keep thinking about anything, because you're just going to mess it up further. When you say to your kids, sit down, we need to talk about this and we need to work this out, don't, because it's not going to get better. But if you have a piece of something, if you have a piece of a law that you're beginning to understand, and now you're wanting to apply this law that you're beginning to understand to something that you're living, and you're feeling satisfaction in the conversation because it's bringing you to greater clarity, that's an entirely different thing. That's what we do all day, every day here, isn't it? You see, we were saying, get into the vortex and then get onto your high flying disc and then get your valve opened and then get into the receiving mode and then. We've been saying it to you in lots of different ways, but you have never heard it like you heard it here today. You're ready to be ready. You just are. Yeah.
I'm ready. Love you. Thank you.
Really